Hello everybody! Welcome to the third episode of our podcast.
Wow, so happy, Zah.
Yeah, so happy because it's the third episode.
Okay, so fast, not bad.
I'm so
episode.
surprised that we have not given up after the first episode.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a million listeners, but so far our listeners, how many idea?
We have in total 73 unique listeners. Unique and special.
What's the difference?
Unique listeners means, one listener can come to Spotify and press play many times, right? And then the first time they fell asleep, or second time they busy doing something else, then they come back. So all those times that they come back is just counted as one because it's just one listener.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, very interesting.
Not bad.
Very interesting.
Probably quite bad lah, but not bad for us.
Yeah. Okay, so what's cooking today?
So today we are going to be talking about something which to me and most likely to the average Singaporean is a boring topic.
Okay.
But this is one of your most favourite topics. But to me, every time you open this topic, I'm like, oh man, do we need to talk about this?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the topic is buying cars without installments.
Hey, okay lah. Okay what? Help people save money mah.
Yes, the reason why a lot of people, I guess, are stuck with a car that they feel very unhappy about or feel unhappy about the fact that they have to pay for the car is quite likely because they find it a boring topic and most likely will not listen to a podcast like this to understand how it might be better to look at other alternative ways of owning a car without installments. So maybe Hakim, you can walk us through to what normally would happen for an average car owner in Singapore when it comes to owning a car.
I mean, most people want to buy new car or close to new car, like 1 year old, 2 year old. So they are paying a lot of money for it. 100,000, 100 plus thousand. Although they are taking a loan and everything, of course you pay interest, you pay extra lah. You pay interest means pay extra mah.
Yeah, pay interest, pay extra, but it means that, as far as that month is concerned or the nearing months are concerned, it's a lot less money that they have to put up front for a car.
True. Or you can pay zero every month and the money that is used to pay for your car every month, that 1,500 or so, you can actually go for holiday.
Yeah, but still I have to put in my savings, right? So 1,500 every month. Either I pay 1,500 every month for a car, or I pay, like, for example, like us, $8,000 or $6,000 upfront to own the car.
Yeah.
So it's just a question of when you have to pay the car, mah. For people like us, right, we might feel comfortable paying for the car upfront $8,000 savings, right? But for some other people, they are not comfortable with that because there's just too much money out of their savings, one lump sum put at the front like that. They would rather cut it up into manageable amounts,
right?
Across many months,
right?
So one is what they find that a little bit more comfortable lah than having to part away with $8,000 one shot like that.
Yeah. But I think this is something which is challengingly good lah, because this comes is connected to the whole cash flow every month. It's a matter of principle. So if you steal once, you're likely to steal again until the day that you get caught, right?
What does that mean?
If you don't get caught, you will continue to steal and steal again. So from financial perspective, if you loan one time, you're likely to loan and loan. So you're accumulating as many loans as possible, as many monthly installments as you can until you have reached your max. That's not exactly a good idea.
But what is the likelihood that just because you buy a car and pay installment for your car, you are likely also going to be the kind of person who take installment on furniture or take installment on spa treatment or massage, this kind of stuff?
That's the psychology behind it, right? It's the fact that you're paying lesser every month, that you feel that it's more manageable. So, you take the installment route lah.
Okay, so in other words, you think that it is a slippery slope to be on.
Yeah.
So if you start doing this with one particular item like a car, you're quite likely going to do it with other things.
Well, if you don't already realize that, the whole system is already setting us, if I can use that word, setting us up to make sure that we collect as much loans as possible, because that's how they want to do business with us, to make sure that we keep giving them business. So they will come up with many kinds of products, loan products, to make sure that we buy from them, from the banks, for example. So before you get married, maybe you're studying, you get a study loan. Then when you want to get married, you get another form of loan for your weddings, and then you buy a house, that's another loan. You buy a car, that's another loan. You renovate your house, that's another loan. The list goes on lah. It's like a never-ending list of loans. So every month you got to service your debt lah.
But it's very normal, right?
Yeah, that's one way. That's one way to do things, but
It's very normal.
But there is an alternative way of doing things lah. So imagine if you don't have those kind of monthly obligations.
Okay.
So the moment you're able to reduce all those loans, your monthly obligations, then you're working towards being debt free, which means you are a slave to nobody lah.
So in other words, I guess our sharing today is more for people who who either are already owning a car right now, or who are thinking about possibly owning a car, but is not sure what other alternative ways of owning a car is there other than buying new and committing that amount of money every month, that installment every month. So I suppose this is an episode to listen to if you would like to listen to alternative ways of owning a car other than the traditional way of buying new and paying for installment.
Sometimes people don't think about actually you don't need to buy a car, because even if you take Grab or taxi every day, chances are it's cheaper than owning a car. That's number one. You know how rich, like very rich people you see on television, that kind of people whereby they have their chauffeur to drive them, and then they sit behind. Well, that's Grab, right? So take Grab lah. Take Grab is cheaper.
But I think okay. If you want to talk about buying a car without installment from a very practical, rational point of view, everyone is going to be with you, right? If you tell them that by buying a car with no installment, you are not creating any disruption to your monthly cash flow, you are not paying any interest, and you're maximizing your monthly savings, and you are also not putting money into a depreciating liability, right? I mean, from the financial point of view, all of this makes sense. But the bottom line is that even after listening to all of these very rational reasons for not wanting to pay installment for a car, people are still going to buy. You know why? Because you are overlooking the very fact that cars are a very important item of social status. You know what I mean? True, like you said, technically speaking, if you Grab to work every day, point A to point B, most people are point A to point B people, right? You wake up in the morning, you go to the office, after you finish your day, you come back home, right? It's always home, office, office, home, office, home. Point A to point B, B to A, back to A, right? But, and like I say, and for situations like this, actually it's a lot more savings if you just grabbed every day from home to office. But grabbing every day does not have the kind of social signaling, right, that owning a car does lah. You know what I mean? And even the type of car. So like you said, actually you can own a car if you're not too fussy about what sort of car you want to own. Like for us, for example, we have absolutely no issues driving a 14.5-year-old Ford Focus with lots of scratches on it. Almost like we get off from actually driving such a crappy looking car. But for most people, they sayang their car like it is their child, right? And I think that goes a long way to show that actually cars are not just about cars. Cars are not just about bringing people from point A to point B. It's a form of social status, And sometimes not even just about a form of social status. Sometimes it is a kind of social capital that you use in order to operate in society. So like the other day we were talking about this, right? So let's say you are a financial advisor or a property agent, right? And your job every day is basically, true, you are selling property or you are selling whatever financial insurance or investment packages or whatever, right? But what you're really selling to your customers are is the image of you. You are what they can be if they were to go with your service, right? And part of part of you that they can also be at the same time is also the car that you own. So if you come for your appointment in a scratched up 14-and-a-half-year-old red Ford Focus, what is the likelihood that they're going to look at you as someone who appeals to them as compared to a property agent who comes in with a Maserati? You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to buy a property from someone with a 14-and-a-half-year-old scratched up car. I want to buy from the guy with a Maserati because he knows his shit. Look at him. He's driving a Maserati. I want to drive a Maserati. So obviously he's got his life figured out. I should listen to him. So the car, like all those other things that you pile up on you, right? Your Louis Vuitton bag, your expensive leather goods. These are just not stuff, you know. They are stuff that can really give you a certain kind of capital lah when you're interacting every day with society. You know what I mean? What's your response to that? Like
at the same time, you're saying, you know, you're selling me this idea, fake it till you make it.
No. Like, okay, like for example today, right? I'm very sure that there are some listeners who are listening in this podcast and saying like, hang on a second, this guy is giving advice on owning a car and how to buy property and how to manage their finances. But he drives a 14-and-a-half-year-old red Ford Focus, a really scratched up one. I mean, what on earth does he know about success?
Well, logically speaking, if you have $100,000 in your bank, you can either buy a 14-and-a-half-year-old Ford Focus for $5,000 and have $95,000 left in the bank, or you can buy a brand new. What is $100,000?
I don't know.
A brand new Ford Focus for $100,000 and have $0 in the bank. Right? It's that straightforward. There's no
Yeah,
magic.
but you see, can that $100,000 worth of savings, $95,000 worth of saving, bring you more business? Bring you more business in, let's say, for example, if you are in the financial industry. Can it translate into more business? Can it translate into more money?
I believe there are. I know of, and I believe there are many of such people who actually don't even own a car. They travel by, public transport, taxi, Grab. Sometimes they hitch rides from their friends, and they are doing very well in these industries. At the end of the day, in any sales job, and I consider this a sales job, any sales job, it's about buying people, not buying car. It's whether the person trusts you, whether you are sincere. At the end of the day, whether the person, your potential prospect or customer, is comfortable with you. If they are comfortable with you, they know of you, they are being recommended, and they trust you, then they are likely to engage you for your services rather than what kind of car. You can be driving a Maserati, but then you are, flamboyantly arrogant, and that person might not want to engage your services at the end of the day because just could not relate with you or think that you're just too cocky. You can be driving a red Ford Focus which is 14-and-a-half years old, and the person feel comfortable with you and might engage say, this person, maybe I should give him the business.
Kesian dia. So pitiful.
It may be the case, cannot underestimate this kind.
Actually, if I can share an anecdote, this makes a lot of sense because I remember having a lot of conversations with my dad. At one point, my dad, when he was working before he was retired, every time he needed to hire somebody, right? Somebody new, right? He always have this litmus test that he will pose, this question that he poses to any potential candidate to see whether this guy
during the interview, right?
Whether this guy is full of shit or actually quite good lah, like can consider hiring. So one of the very simple questions he asked is, how did you get here for your interview? A seemingly very harmless question, almost like as though it's just an icebreaker, but actually it's meant to signal something. So oftentimes, a lot of the potential candidates are quite new, they're quite young, or maybe they are fresh graduates from polytechnic or uni, right? Then they will say that, some of them will say, they took a taxi. And it's understandable because most people just don't want to be late for an interview. So rather than put their trust in the public transport system, they would actually pay a little bit more for a taxi so that they can be on time for the interview. And then the one that catches his attention, right, will be the guy who is on time, if not early, and who said that he took bus. he took the bus or the MRT to the interview, because this signals to the employer that you are of a different make. So in other words, you are able to rough it up, or to be you are able to deliver even with a little bit of discomfort lah.
And that also tells the employer one thing that separates apart from the person who took taxi. You need to get out of your house much earlier than the person who took taxi. You took it more seriously.
No. What I want to say is that this one, right, is a comparison only between the one who takes a taxi and the one who takes the bus or the MRT. And then there will be a few candidates who say that, oh, I drove here. And then my father will open the topic and ask, oh, whose car did you drive? Do you drive your father's car? And then some of them will say, oh yeah, I drove my father's car. And then that's already like cannot.
Why?
Huh? Why? Because to him, like, he sees that as an indication of independence lah. Like, come for your interview, make it that yourself lah, Yeah, it's different if, for example, the candidate says that, oh, my father drove me, my father sent me for this interview.
The other thing he said was what? Smoking.
Smoking is another one.
Why? Smoking waste time.
Yeah, because if you take smoke breaks, naturally you have to step off work ma. It's just about the math lah. Okay. But this is regards to the. So anyway, yeah, there's some anecdotes to remind us that actually not having a perfectly good looking car or not having a car at all actually can actually give you a lot of advantages lah, in the professional world.
Yeah, actually, I mean, apart from the professional world, financially speaking, it makes the most financial sense. Because older cars, as much as people see it as like no value, so which means less demand means cheaper. So as much as it will come with its own set of problems that you need to repair here and there, but you just need to look out. Generally, if you take like your normal Toyota, Honda, these are reliable brands, which in other countries people drive for 20, 30, 40 years with and just keep on driving them. And in the only place
in Singapore,
in Singapore that you have this mental barrier, or only can last 10 years.
Yeah, because of the COE, somehow socialized us into thinking that any car that is more than 5 years old is considered an old car.
The reality is, once this car gets scrapped or exported, they are exported to third world countries who see them as, wow, this car from Singapore, wow, must be very good, must be good condition, well taken care of. So all these people see value, even if you export a 15-year-old or 20-year-old car, to them it's like, wow, good condition, because why? Came from Singapore, first world country. So if they can see value in it, why shouldn't we see value in a car that is less than 15, less than 20 years old? It's just to me, it's just a lot more psychological barrier than anything lah. But what I'm trying to say is, you can get good deals from these kind of cars, which is maybe left 1 year left, 2 year left, or even a few months old left.
But to pull this off, you need to know a very good mechanic lah, or you must have a very good workshop, right, to basically advise on whether.
I'm sure everybody have some friends or family members, or somebody they know in mechanic, or their father's friend or their father's mechanic, or something like that, something to that effect. Now this is quite easy. You can go on Carousel, you can go on SD Kama, you can go, a lot of places. But you are bound to know somebody, even if you don't. Then maybe you get burned once lah, like, this one not a good workshop. After you try for the 5th workshop, which one doesn't really slaughter you.
What I meant is, like, you need to have somebody, like a friend or a family member to like accompany you, go and see some of these old cars to see whether they are in good working condition before you actually pay like $6,000 for it.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, you're bound to know somebody who is able to help you with that lah. At least the basic ones, you don't have to know in detail. Yeah.
Yep. So, but is there any situation at all where buying a car with installment can make sense financially? With
installment?
Yeah. So that means you're the usual way lah. Like,
I mean, you can do the usual way. Most people would do the usual way.
Yeah.
Just that you pay more.
No. So, I mean, like, so all this while you've been saying that doing the usual way doesn't make as much financial sense as buying with no installment. So my question is, in what situation can buying with installment make financial sense to somebody?
It's the easy way out lah. Everybody will say, I don't have to convince you. Everybody will say, yeah, it's the one that makes most financial sense. I'm trying to sell them that is the one that makes the least financial sense. I don't have to convince them that it makes the most financial sense.
So in no situation whatsoever, not even if you're a millionaire, would buying a car
With
with
installments,
installments make sense?
why would a millionaire take installment? A millionaire, if you have a couple of $100,000 to spare,
Yeah.
it definitely makes sense for you, and if you're financially savvy, to possibly buy everything in cash without installment because you have the capital. You wouldn't go for installments because you have the capital to buy the car in full. So that will make sense because you pay no interest, because you have no monthly financial obligation. So if you have the spare $100,000 to go and buy a brand new car, you probably would, and that will save you a lot of repair costs over the next few years before you change to another new one. So that will make sense if you do have that amount of couple of $100,000 or $300,000 or $500,000 or even $1 million for that matter. So maybe that situation will make sense for you to buy brand new cars, but obviously without installment. Yeah.
How about renting though? Renting is still quite okay, right?
Perfect. Especially from a business point of view, if you're self-employed and do any form of entrepreneurship or your own business, you could register it under your company, use it as expenses. Your rental is expenses, and at the end of the day, you might pay low taxes or no taxes at all because it's part of your business. So renting does make a lot of sense. You don't have to worry about how much the insurance costs, how much the road tax, how much the repair costs.
So actually, if let's say for somebody parting with like $8,000 or $10,000, one lump sum, parting with them one lump sum just to buy a car. If let's say it's too much for that person, right? So renting is another alternative, right? It's a better alternative.
Renting is good if you want to get, first for business, or if you want to get new cars. You don't have to fork out the big upfront. At the same time, you will get the benefits of a brand new car lah.
Yeah.
Almost no repair.
Yeah, Hakim, but it's not the same lah. It's not my car, not my baby,
But what people don't understand is when they buy their car, in the context of Singapore, because you cannot own it forever, it will only last you for 10 years.
So it's on loan anyway.
So it's renting anyways.
Quack, quack, quack.
It's just renting anyways. But there's the problem of if you want to sell along the way because of depreciation, right?
Yeah.
You are likely to have problems, especially if you didn't put any amount for down payment. You have problems trying to sell your car after 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, because the amount that you can sell, your outstanding loan with the bank is more than the amount that you sell. So you need to top up just to sell your car.
Yeah.
I mean, top up $10,000, $15,000 just to sell your car. That's the reality of it lah.
Then for people who already pay, they already buy their new car, now paying installment every day.
Those who just bought their car,
No lah, I bought already lah.
better think of a way how to generate income. You better drive more Grab lah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. We actually know a lot of people who do that, right?
Yeah. Grab. Better drive Grab.
So they actually drive Grab to help them pay for the petrol or help them pay for the car. Yeah lah.
But now also Grab no business. Now, see our Ford Focus if you buy a 14.5-year-old Ford Focus it will only cost you, if you divide it into the number of months, it will only cost you maybe about $500-600 a month compared to your 1,000 plus a month. So it's not that bad. It's more manageable.
But some people,
and if you do Grab with that, wow, you can, even you do full-time Grab with this one for all those Grab drivers out there. The shortcut hack to earning big bucks for Grab is to buy a 1-year-old, 2-year-old left car.
Yeah, but a lot of them may not have that $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 to lump sum put at the front.
Even if you need to take a loan for all those Grab drivers.
Suddenly?
Because you're only paying what, $10,000 or less?
But what happened to if you steal once, you steal again?
Okay lah, don't want to steal then don't take loan lah.
Yeah lah, so this one might not be manageable for them, what? Want to pay $10,000 upfront?
What I'm trying to say is,
Okay lah, if it's for them lah, if they have savings.
Specifically for the Grab drivers.
Who have savings.
Grab drivers generally won't have so much savings.
But if they have savings.
Which is why they're driving Grab, right? So, because what they are doing is they are renting brand new cars for all these rental companies, which cost them a lot. If they are buying their own car, especially cheap cars, 1 year, 2 year left, they are maximizing their profit. How much they pay? Like $400 a week, $500 a week. That's $2,000 a month.
No, I can just imagine like most Grab drivers saying to you like, "Are you crazy? You want me to take a loan to pay $10,000 for a car that is old, that might crank up on me while I'm doing my jobs?" Not likely they're gonna say okay to that, right?
They're gonna crank up every day?
It might not crank up every day, but if it cranks up, then you have to pay for the repairs and all that.
Still cheaper.
Which is still cash, you know, that they might not have.
Still cheaper than paying $500 monthly. $500 weekly, sorry.
If they rent.
Yeah. If you take a lower amount, $400 weekly, still cheaper because you pay zero weekly. Okay. Look at it this way. Let's say you don't pump your $8,000. You just take a loan on an older car. A brand new car, you rent, you pay $400 weekly. 1 year, 2 year old car, you pay $500 monthly. Which one makes more sense? At the end of the day, they're looking for cash, right? At the end of the day, they're looking for earning more money every month, right? So if driving Grab for 12 hours a day brings them back home $2,000 a month, driving an older car brings them back home another $1,500 a month. That's real money. That's real food you put on the table. Even if you have like every month you need one breakdown, so what? Additional $1,500 a month, $3,500 with one breakdown a month is better than no breakdowns for just $2,000 a month. 12 hours of driving a day, no holiday, no joke.
Okay, I suppose those are food for thought for everybody who's considering car ownership, whether to get an installment. Our advice would be, no, don't do it. Don't get an installment. Pay it full or rent. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Try to keep it short and sweet. We'll check in with you again next week. Hopefully with episode 4.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Bye.